And then I go up, and all that, because it's such a long drive. Oh, yeah. And I hit traffic on the turnpike. We're live. And I was like, oh, I've got live.
I feel like I just went on. I just told next time.
I did that. It's all done. I'm gonna save something. It's cold.
Yeah, I
here. But you know, hey.
See the key to
Thank you. What now?
what?
Here? Oh, cool. Oh, we have one on the, put it under the sheet.
No,
So she said she's always hot.
yeah, I am.
It could be 90 degrees. I got
We have, my daughter bought us one.
I'm afraid that they will.
Under the sheet? Oh my God, it's so nice. It's so nice. When I wake up, I just go and turn it off.
We have dogs for that.
We have dogs too, but oh my God, I think he likes the blanket because he's never slept with us so much.
3 dogs.
Um,
Please rise for the allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with the schedule of meetings of the Township Council, established and adopted by the Township Council, which gets designated the time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act. We're using electronic amplifying of recording device in order to obtain a clear and audible record and request all those wishing to speak to be recognized and state your name and address directly to the microphone. The recording device will be so utilized by the Township Clerk's Office for preparation of minutes and shall be the official record of the Township Council meeting. Madam Clerk, may I have the roll call, please?
Mr. Hutchison.
Present.
Ms. Grace.
She is ill this evening.
Mr. Mignon.
Here.
Mrs. Stubbs. Mrs. Winters.
Here.
Mrs. Strato.
Here,
Mr. Mercado.
Present. We now have the public portion. The public portion is for 15 minutes total. Each speaker is entitled to 3 minutes, and it is for agenda items only. Would anyone like to speak on any of the agenda items? Seeing none. Close the public portion. Waive the reading, accept the minutes of reorganization January 3rd, 2022. Executive session December 13th, 2021. Regular meeting December 13th, 2021. Regular meeting December 29th, 2021. January 10th, 2022. And January 24th, 2022. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Thank you, Mr. Mignon. On the question. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison.
Yes, with the exception of December 29th, I'll abstain on that.
Mr. Mignon.
Yes to all.
Mrs. Winters.
Yes for all.
Mrs. Strato.
December 13th, and yes to the rest.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes to all. Next is the ordinance of first reading and introduction. There will be a hearing at the second reading. This is for calendar ordinance 0-22-01, calendar year 2022 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish the cap bank. As authorized by state law, this ordinance allows the township to use some or all of the 3.5% in the 2 years immediately following the current budget year if it's not needed in the current year, and establishes the cap bank. Mr. Carr, is there anything else you want to add to that?
You explained it all.
All right. I entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Oh,
On the question, roll call, please.
Yes.
Mr. Mignon.
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs. Mrs. Winters.
Yes.
Mrs. Strato.
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Next is our consent agenda. Any council member that would like to have any of the items removed from the consent agenda, please speak up. Hearing none, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison,
Yes.
Mr. Minio,
Yes.
Mrs. Stubbs, Mrs. Williams,
Yes.
Mrs. Strato,
Yes.
Mr. Mercado.
Yes. Next is a eGov access email from Mr. Sam Sweet at 18 Elizabeth Place here in New Jersey. Question for council. According to New Jersey state law, if a company donates to a political party and they were awarded a non-fair contract, they are penalized from doing business with the township in question in the future. I asked at the last council meeting, how long is that penalty for? I was told by Mr. Carlemere's office that he would get back to me with an answer. As of the moment, they have not. How long is this penalty for? Mr. Carlemere?
So I understood his question that, and my comment was, we talked about 1 or 2 years, and I wasn't sure, and I would check, but I told him I'd have an answer for him tonight. If he had an answer, he could have contacted me, but the statute and our ordinance says 1 year.
Thank you very much. Now we'll have our second public portion. This is for 30 minutes, and any member, any citizen could bring up any topic. Each president is limited to 5 minutes per individual during the public portion. Anyone wish to speak during the public portion? Ms. Shaughnessy.
Oh, it's actually Miss Smithman.
Ms. Smithman?
My name is Shaughnessy Smithman.
Okay.
I'm 44 years old. I live in Millbridge Apartments, that's SDK, Millbridge Gardens Apartments on Millbrook Road, apartment 341, in what's considered Gloucester Township. Unless you're writing a letter, it's considered Clementon, New Jersey. I hope everyone is well this evening. I was trying these past several council meetings to try to connect a certain part of the community that I've noticed is slightly lacking, possibly. I find that there might be some members of the community that might not have access to all of the parts of the government that are helpful. I had a thought. I was hoping I could share it with the council. If it would be possible to try to get every community member that we can think of access to the local police municipality and local fire departments. It's a little different here in New Jersey from what I understand. Our fire departments are mostly volunteer. They're not run by official government. They're volunteer. I don't really know the guidelines to them, but I know that we're considered volunteer fire departments for the state of New Jersey. Would it be possible to get on all of the United States Postal Service drop boxes where you would put to mail a letter at approximately wheelchair height, which might accommodate every size of the citizens, including a wheelchair, with a picture, one to indicate fire, one to indicate police, in raised lettering for the local township or borough that the letter carrier is located in. Like if I wanted to mail a letter in Gloucester Township, if there was a United States Postal Service drop letter box, if I could not read, I could see the picture to indicate fire or police for non-emergency type situations. If I could not write, if it's in raised lettering, if I had a crayon or a pencil, I could place my envelope over the address for either the fire or police and sketch it enough so that the local United States Postal Service could get it to the local municipality. I did contact the Gloucester Township Police Department to ask them what they would do if someone received a letter from the wrong municipality. They said that they would forward it to the correct municipality. So if I happened to be at a United States Postal Service drop box in a different town, it would still go to the one, it would still go to, hopefully, the correct municipality. It's an effort more than is made now. I was trying to explain that not every member of the community has access to the local police department for non-emergency. Without a phone, even with a phone, they no longer give phone books to list the local municipality phone number. They only give on directory assistance 411, business or resident listings. You have to speak to a person to get a municipality number. I was hoping that that would be something that the council could try to participate in, since it is part of council, I would think. It would begin here, part of the civil engineering for the town would begin at the council meeting. Am I at the wrong meeting? I was told before that some of the things I speak about were disturbing. Mr. Mercado.
No one said it was disturbing, Ms. Smithman. No one said it was disturbing.
The last meeting I was at, you did not seem to understand what I was speaking of.
Well, you had various topics that you were discussing.
Actually, on one topic.
Ms. Smithman, do you allow me to respond to you? Ms. Smithman, some of the topics that you brought in the past were outside the purview of
Such as?
what this township council and this municipality can do.
No, what
And-
topics are they?
Okay, I'll go through your topics. Taking bootleg movies and giving them to local churches and having them resell it. That's when you first came here.
No, not at all.
No.
That's not anything I had ever said. I had asked for where people can turn themselves in to pay the fines and penalties for having bootlegs.
The second thing was the address for Millbridge, and we said, well, okay, you have to go to the United States Postal Service regarding that. Saving land for eagles and also unborn children. That's something you brought in that you wanted to discuss.
I was hoping that you could find a burial place for members of the community,
We share the
possibly for the
same
state of
parcel
New
of
Jersey.
Share the same parcel of land. So,
Well, I mean, if you were worried about how to finance such a task, such as to find a place for a stillborn child to be buried, if stillborn children are not identified,
so Ms.
with any
Smithman,
type of
sorry to cut you off.
identification.
I'm going through the list of things that you brought up here. I did not say that I was disturbed. I said that it's taking me some time to reflect on some of these things that you brought up, because again, this is not in the purview of what we do here as council. Okay, so when you had questions regarding if the baby need to be dropped off at the police station.
no,
or
a
the
stillborn child, a
Okay.
stillborn child.
Okay, no, but you also talked about babies in the past, dropping them off. So,
No, it did not. It's stillborn children.
all right,
If a child
Ms.
comes,
Smithman. So, in regards to lettering or putting,
raise lettering, a
raise-
picture to indicate
Ms.
fire,
Smithman, if you could please let me finish.
and a picture to
Ms.
indicate
Smithman.
police. Yes, Mr. Mercado.
So, raised lettering on postal boxes, that is the United States Postal Service. We can't mandate that. Could we have a conversation? Perhaps. But my question I'm going to ask the chief here, someone did call 911 and they didn't know, they said this is a non-emergency. Would that dispatcher say, contact 228 or whatever the number is?
They could contact, or they could take the information depending on other incidents that are occurring. As a general rule, they'll try to help the person. And other times they'll ask them to call the non-emergency number because of the way the call gets prioritized. And to my knowledge, working with U.S. Postal Inspection Service, we are not allowed to put anything on a post box. We're not allowed, as federal property, very strict. Congress had to approve that. I know it sounds ridiculous, but that's pretty much the case.
Can I just jump in I think I can answer your question. I actually called 911 one time in Gloucester Township, and it was not an emergency. I knew it was not an emergency, but for the life of me, I could not remember the phone number. I called 911. I said, this is not a life or death emergency. I don't know the local number. They actually dispatched me right through to Gloucester Township Police's non-emergency number. So anybody can call 911 and be dispatched to.
I understand that, and I appreciate your explaining where the situation paralleled with a situation you had. I'm trying to think of how to prevent every person from calling 911 when they don't know the number. Since I was in that similar situation, I'm trying to now be proactive and try to find out how would I have found out how to contact the local police department for a non-emergency without needing to do that. Because for 911, every person that calls, you could block a call for somebody that it's for emergencies only.
The systems can handle it.
Yeah.
If you need it, dial 911 and we can handle it. It's got redundancies. If we're overloaded, it goes to Camden County, it goes to Gloucester County, it goes to there's redundancy built in the system that a 911 call will always be answered.
I understand that, but for actual emergencies, since some people have a very difficult time knowing when to call, when they call, the emergency could be, every millisecond would count. So I'm trying to prevent that. And there are some situations that are such a non-emergency that they may not want to bother anyone but write a letter. But the addresses are not listed anywhere. Is there any local community property where you could place an official address of the community for both the local fire and the local police department? Possibly a park bench, or I don't really know what is considered property of Gloucester Township, but if you could find something official enough, like I said, at wheelchair height, so children and people of smaller stature could reach it, indicate it with a picture for people that cannot read and people that cannot write. If it's in raised or recessed letters, somebody would be able to have access to either a crown or a pen and put it, either a postcard or an envelope up to it and just scratch it. And it should be.
Smithman, thank you for your comments. Your time has expired. If there's more time in our public portion, you can come back up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mr. Krug?
Evening, Council. Paul Krug, Blackwood Estates.
Good evening.
I didn't have any prepared remarks tonight, and typically you hear me speak. And I'm actually interested in hearing on two topics from you all this evening. Number one would be the revised Blackwood West redevelopment plan, and if there's been an execution strategy set up for its implementation.
I am not aware of any meetings that have taken place yet. As you all know, our planner is Remington and Vernon, that works with the municipality now. Tom, or you know anything that
I'm not, but I can look
and
into it.
reach out to Director Borelli as well.
Thank you, Paul.
If you don't mind, that'd be appreciated. Yeah, I think we obviously have the state-run MPP program happening in one silo. Obviously, another portion of this is what's going to happen at the local level here in Gloucester Township, which I assume is going to be run by this body and under the revised Blackwood West redevelopment plan. We also have the community, the business owners, the residents. So we have these three lanes that I think if they can get aligned in a common direction, may be able to make some progress on this difficult situation we have in downtown Blackwood. So I would ask if you could spend some time to consider how the revised plan is going to align with the MPP and with the community. It'd be very valuable to understand that particular lane. Other topic I was interested to hear about tonight is something that I've been bringing up and we know we're on the cusp of, which is the budget. And I've stated a couple of numbers that you know at this point. You've certainly had time to look at them up if you don't believe that I got them from New Jersey State, which I did, talking about from 2001 to 2021 and the significant increase in budget. And we've had this conversation over the last so many years, and I was interested hearing those numbers, which again, 2001 municipal budget was 15 million, 2001 65 million, 4.33 multiple, 333% increase over most of those 2 decades. Although we're suffering from high inflation right now, over those 2 decades, inflation was under 3%. So you can do some quick math in your head and you'll realize that the budget grew exponentially more than inflation would have entailed. So I was wondering how if council planned the next 20 years to look like the last 20, or if there was going to be a change in the way we approach the growth of the municipal budget. And really open to anyone just interested to hear.
Anyone like to answer or respond to that?
I typically try to give an answer anytime you ask a question, but I don't have one tonight. But as we go through the budget process this year, you're more than welcome. I'm going to try and do what I did last year. I will interact with you in that process. That's okay.
Sure. Any viewpoints, I'd just like to understand where your mentality is at. You know where I am, so you can probably only get sick of me continuing to say it. I'd like to hear, where you're at.
That's the same questions that go through my head all the time. Okay, I think we have to control spending, and we have to try and find alternative revenues. That's always going to be a challenge in the town. But your idea of controlling spending is what we should be doing.
Okay. Anyone else?
Just to add to what Dan is saying, what's prominent in my thought process with any budget, keeping our residents safety, keeping our township clean, and providing recreation activities for all of our residents. Those are things that are important to me and important to the people that I represent and the people that I come across on a daily basis. So that goes into when we're putting the budget together. Those are things that I feel that are important and providing that to our residents.
Yeah, I certainly agree, but is that at any cost or the cost of continual up and to the right for the next 20 years? Because that to provide those at the level we've been providing them is going to see a doubling to $130 million in 2 decades of the municipal budget.
Well, there are certain things that I don't want to go cheap on. For instance, public safety and our declining crime rate in the township. And coupled with our declining crime rate is that we brought on additional police officers. People feel safe in this town. And some of the things and ills that have plagued other municipalities and cities throughout the United States, we don't have here or have that level. So, I'm hesitant, when people were talking about defunding police, and I believe you were probably on that call when we had it during the budget meeting, and that may have been something that was in vogue in the summer of 2020, but that's not something that I was interested in, and I don't believe anyone here on council was. But there's a price tag that comes along with it. So recreational activities, I talk about 3 things, recreational activities, having things for our residents here and making sure that our children participate in different activities, whether it's senior activities or activities for our youth, the cleanliness of our town, and making sure that we have equipment. Now we're still in the pothole season, we're zigzagging on our roads, but we can fill a pothole, correct, Mr. Carter, but then you're going to have snow again, and that pothole is going to resurface again. So unfortunately, there's a waiting period, correct, Mr. Carter? I'm not sure if the county hit it, if it was Gloucester or Camden County, but I was coming from Home Depot 2 weeks ago, and I'm driving on the opposite side because I knew it was coming. So those are things that there are no quick fixes, and we'll take a look at the budget. Mr. Carter is going to start putting things together. Eventually, there's going to be a capital budget that's going to be coming out as well to address things. We have aging roads, aging sidewalks, the southern part of our town. And I'm going to bring up his name again because he served on the planning board for many years. Mr. Custodian knows southern part of our town, there wasn't sidewalks. Developers weren't tasked with putting sidewalks down in the southern end. And those are things that our community needed as we expanded and grew. So, but if anyone else wants to add to it, but there's a lot of thoughts and
Just a
gone
side
into
note,
that.
just a side note, remember too, we skipped our capital program for year 2020.
That's correct.
For the pandemic.
So,
Yeah, I'm cognizant of the topics you brought up. And just to inform you with regard to the public safety, and I did not take this to be political, but I am taking the Gloucester Township PD Citizens Police Academy and learning about that side of the house and what they offer. I can say that they're very well organized, very well trained, and from what I can tell, well equipped. And, you know, we've added officers and the crime rate is down. So what I guess in my mind is, you've argued that growth has led us to that 333% increase. Okay, I can accept that. Now, can we assume that that growth is going to plateau or has plateaued, and now the budget is also going to plateau? Meaning, is 133 sworn officers who have proven that they can keep our community safe enough instead of needing to continue to add? Or our parks and recreation is certainly top notch. Can now we just maintain that instead of continuing to add, so that the pressure on the taxpayer is lessened? Just thoughts that go through my head. I'm out of time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Kruger. Is there anyone else? Okay, if no one else will speak, Ms. Smithman, you're going to be our last speaker.
Shaughnessy Smithman, I live in SDK, Millbridge Gardens Apartments, on Millbrook Road, apartment 341. While I was asked to take my seat because I had too much, my time had expired. Thank you for allowing me to speak for 5 more minutes. Would it be possible to place on the local fire hydrants what I'm requesting, to place the local and fire address, United States Postal Service mailing address, to indicate with both a picture, raised lettering, and Braille? Is it possible to place them on the local fire hydrants, since they are located throughout the town and they should be local to the township?
Those fire hydrants, Mr. Carter, they're leased to the fire departments, correct?
That's correct. They're water company owned, and they're leased by the fire.
I amazed you with that fun fact.
Well, the municipal utility authorities are local to the local towns, correct?
Well, they're private water companies.
The MUA?
American Water and
Aqua.
Aqua.
So the local fire hydrants are not owned by the local municipality?
Correct.
But I don't mean to take a step back, but I'm curious because we're asked to remove the snow as citizens, parts of the community. They asked the community members to remove the snow from the local fire hydrants in case there is a fire so that they have access to it. But if it's privately owned, why are they asking the members of the community to do it without pay?
Because they have to attach a hose there to put out a fire, Ms. Smith.
Yeah, there's
I think it would
hundreds of
benefit
them.
you. Correct. I think it would benefit.
It would also
our
benefit
community.
me if we could
It's a
put the
society.
address on the local fire hydrants. I did notice that the local privately hired snow removers were not removing the snow from the fire hydrants. But you're saying that the MUA is now privately owned?
No, the MUA is not privately owned. The fire hydrants are owned by 2 water companies that service Gloucester Township: New Jersey American Water and Aqua New Jersey. They lease it out to the fire districts. We have 6 fire districts. So they rent those fire hydrants. We do not own them.
Mr. President, can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I'm trying to get an understanding of what you want. You want an address and a telephone number for the police and
Fire,
fire.
since they're separate.
And you want this to be prominently displayed throughout the town so that everybody will know the address and the telephone number that should be used if they want to communicate with the fire department or the police department.
Prominently displayed would be nice. That's actually not my request, but that would be more than fulfilling the request. I'm looking for things owned by the municipal government of Gloucester Township to indicate the address to the local fire and police municipality for non-emergency situations that are for both fire or police matters.
The reason aside, I'm just trying to
Well,
understand.
if you place it on something that's not officially part of the government, I fear that somebody, if they could
The reason
They could
aside,
vandalize it, they could place the wrong address on it.
the reason aside, forget the reason for a second. Okay, I'm simply trying to understand. You want the address and the telephone number for these two governmental bodies.
Right.
I said prominently displayed, you say available, you say whatever, okay. So, but that's what you want, right?
I'm looking for things that are actually still owned by the government that are not privately owned.
Okay.
I'm looking for things that are truly government, since
Why
the
don't you
government
give
makes
us
the
a list of
decisions.
things? Give us your list
Well, the
of
thing-
where you think, not, I don't want to put you on the spot now, but when you come here next time, give us a list of 10 different places where you think we might want to consider putting it. And maybe we could do the same thing, come up with some places.
This is not my
where-
choice. I'm asking what is actually owned by the municipality. I would like them to be on every apartment door in the township, in the country, every place that's rented. So, but somebody could change that. They could just change the door and they would mail it to the wrong place. I'm looking for things. I'm asking the government, what is the government? And please put it in Braille for people that cannot see so they know where they're sending it to. Put it in raised lettering so if they can't write, they can sketch it. They can place the paper on there and take an imprint for either the fire or the police. Indicate it with a picture for those that cannot read and put it at a height accessible to everyone. Make the postage available, either optional or free of charge, so that a letter going to the local police or fire for a non-emergency matter can be mailed to them. Not for all correspondence, of course, but make it possible for it to get there. Those are the ones that I could think of. Whether or not that's everyone, I don't know. I'm only me.
Mr. President, if I can, this has been a discussion since the beginning of the year, and no disrespect to you, but I feel that we're not getting anywhere. And if we can, my opinion, and maybe we could close this, but discussion further, if anybody in the community has an emergency or non-emergency, we're all trained at a very young age to call 911. We clearly just spoke to the chief, and the chief has clearly stated that we are not taxing the system, that if I call 911 for a non-emergency, I will get my call to where I need to go. I don't think it's relevant to teach the community all these different phone numbers and all these different areas of where your police may be or your fire. If you're in a situation
What if
that
you don't have
you
a
feel you
phone?
need help, then you call 911.
What if you're saying that
If you send a correspondence to Choose Landing Fire Department in Gloucester Township, New Jersey, I'm sure it would get there. I have no doubt.
Right, but how would I know the address? How would I know where to mail it?
Just,
You can send it here.
yeah, I mean, you could send it locally. I don't think people are.
Where
gonna
is
be
that? That's what I'm
sending-
trying to explain. This is
So if
not
you
a,
wrote on an envelope, Gloucester Township Police Department, and dropped it in any mailbox around here in this area, it would arrive here. Because the post office knows where we are and they would get it to us. And if it needed to go to the fire department, we would take it and have it delivered to the fire department. So
I
don't
think we
see it
live in a
being-
world where most people have access to technology, whether it's cell phones, the library with computers. I think it's time to shut this.
the local
Conversation
United States,
down,
the
sorry.
local United States Postal Service is Flemington, it's not Gloucester Township. So
They
if-
know how to get.
They do.
It's a lot of our town. We have several different post offices. We have good relations with them. They all know how to get things to us.
Ms. Smithman, do you have anything else to add? Your time is up.
I would prefer that this not be closed. I think that you're really losing many of the members of your community by not acknowledging what is part of the government. so that if somebody does want to begin to participate in this system, they would have access to it. It's really not available. I was born in this country. My father was born and raised and died, God rest his soul, in the state of New Jersey. And I was raised in this state. I didn't know. I knew how to go to work. I knew how to work really hard. And now that my time is possibly close to being expired, I wanted to make available some knowledge that I noticed is slightly lacking. And there are some people that, including myself, that just didn't know how to access the local government. This is something that could be helpful. There are people that cannot read. There are people that cannot write. And there are people that won't use a phone. There are still people that do not use a phone to call. And if they didn't have a phone, there are some matters that they may not want to use somebody else's phone. But how would they have access to the local police or fire? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smithman. Now we'll close the second public portion. Calling of directors.
Mr. Carlin.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cardis.
Nothing to report.
Chief Harkins.
Nothing to report.
Mr. Chadwell.
Report.
Mr. Hutchison.
Thank you for coming.
Mr. Minio.
Thank you all for coming. Please be safe going home.
Mrs. Stubbs. Thank you everyone for being here. Mrs. Winters.
I want to thank everyone for coming out and remind everyone that February is Heart Month. Couple of fun facts. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States, and over 600,000 people die each year from heart disease. 80% of heart disease is preventable, and over 400,000 people in the state of New Jersey have heart disease. So please take care of yourselves, get your checkup, take care of your family members, and take care of yourself.
Mrs. Trotter.
Thank you all for coming. Have a good night.
Mr. Mercado.
I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. This Saturday are our fire elections. That's not something that's very publicized and not many people are aware of, but that is part of your tax bill that you receive. So fire district elections take place between 2 and 9 o'clock. Is that correct, Mr. Carlin, Mayor? 2 to 9 o'clock. If you're not aware of what district you are, you can contact the municipality and we can help you via phone or email or letter. With that, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a great evening, everyone.
How's everything, Tom?